Mr. Arvind Vattavi, Chair, FICCI, LAC, Latin America and Caribbean Regional Council, and Managing Director of Sri Sri Tattva. Mr. Karan Singh, Co-Chair of the FICCI, LAC Regional Council, and Managing Director of ACG World. In addition, all are revered members of the Regional Council who are present today, plus friends from the industry who have joined us live. Uh, on behalf of FICCI, while it's a pleasure for me to welcome Ambassador Dinesh Bhatia, I am also welcoming once again formally the FICCI LAC Council for this special address by Ambassador. The address is titled Future of India-Argentina Business Relations. But yes, while the title is somewhat generic, and we are hearing of a lot of such titles these days, but really, I personally look forward to some deeper insights from Ambassador Bhatia as to what the members of the council and other participants can actually do in terms of business engagement with Argentina. Our Latin American trade, it has been growing, though it's growing to 33 billion in 2019. But I think we all must recall that about 5 years back, we had even reached $40 billion of trade with Latin America. And then due to flux in some of the larger trade and investment partners like Brazil and Argentina, this trade actually went a bit down and now it's slowly creeping up. But whether it is 33 billion or 40 billion, actually one has to see that it's much below what we can actually do when we talk of a 2 trillion population between our two continents, and also at $8 trillion economy. So with such strong credentials, I think a very important role at how both Government of India, our missions overseas, and direct B2B relationships between India and, let's say, Argentina can actually help to increase this trade and investment further. And of course, when we talk of LAC region, we are looking at Argentina today, and probably the Indian industry already engaging in some way. Mr. Varchasvi does big time work, our tractor industry is there. But I think we still in India look at Argentina with regard to soccer and Diego Maradona. So we need to do much more than that. And I think that's where our LAC Council will need to play an important role in bringing that focus. Just for your reference, Ambassador, we just launched the FICCI LAC Council a couple of months back. And exactly what I shared, that, let's try to get businesses much more closer. There is still, I would say, lack of information at both ends. I mean, probably the Argentinian industry still finds maybe India a tough place to navigate through. And the same way, I think a lot of Indian companies look at Latin America a bit too far and maybe a bit too tough to deal with. So, we have taken this objective in the Latin American Council to probably bridge the gap, or the way in FICCI we say, bridging the oceans. With these words, Dinesh, it's my privilege to introduce formally Mr. Arvind Vatasvi, our chair, and Mr. Karan Singh, our co-chair. And I would request them to take it forward after a formal welcome by Arvindji. Arvindji, please take on from here.
Thank you so much, Manish ji. At the outset, Honorable Ambassador Shri Dinesh Bhatia ji, the Indian Ambassador to Argentina, Paraguay and Uruguay, my very good friend and co-chair, Mr. Karan Singh, Manish Singhal ji, Gajendra ji, it's a pleasure to be here and also chair this Latin American Council from FICCI. Honorable Ambassador, as the chair of the council, I can assure you this much, that we have a great set of members here with us who have serious business in the region of Latin America. Today, the members who have joined us here, who are here to listen to your good words of wisdom, would also like to share across that how they would like to build bigger bridges between both the regions. Um, they do have certain challenges and concerns, but this much I would like to assure all my members that having known Sri Dinesh Bhatia ji for over the years, he's always been a person who's always been very agile. He understands the concerns of industry and always has voiced out the industry concerns to the relevant departments and also ministries. I can assure you that the points that what we share across with Dinesh ji here today would certainly be across very seriously and also in a very constructive manner from his side to see that how he could help the entire council across. Honorable Ambassador, the members over here today have rich and varied business representing different sectors, right from FMCG and Ayurveda and also pharmaceuticals. It goes right up to information technology, it goes to farming equipment, goes to logistics, shipping, and also in the tractor business. So we have a lot of diverse businesses that are represented over here, and we look forward to your good counsel to see that how as industry we could really ensure that the business ties and the trade relations between both these two great regions thrive much more. During the course of the interaction here, Ambassador, I would request that all my members here do share their points across with the Honorable Ambassador. I would request them to ensure that they keep their inputs, short and to the point, to see that each one of the members take the advantage of the Honorable Ambassador's presence. So with these few words, Honorable Ambassador, it's such a pleasure, and I invite you to come and interact with our members here today. And thank you very much for giving us the time and opportunity to interact with you. So after this, I would request, my co-chair, Mr. Karan, to give his kind remarks, and then each one of the members would interact with the Honorable Ambassador once the Honorable Ambassador has given his kind words to us. Thank you very much. Karanji, over to you.
Thank you, Arvind. And as Arvind mentioned, it's an honor to have you here, Mr. Ambassador. Um, we have got, as Arvind mentioned, a diverse set of members who have been doing business within the region and the LAC countries for quite a long period of time now. And they have been facing numerous different challenges. Without wasting too much time, I would request members, if we could go one at a time and keep our points brief and share our views, our thoughts, our challenges, and our recommendations, ways that we feel that we can overcome some of the current challenges that we face. So to that, I'd like to call upon, I think, Arvind, who should we call? Should we start with Bruce Bay and then take away down?
Yes, let's start.
Yeah.
Yes.
Uh, Arvind, maybe we may have a opening statement from the ambassador, and then
Oh,
we can
yes,
have.
yes.
So I
Yes.
think let ambassador give the opening remarks, and
No, definitely.
yeah.
Definitely, Gajendra. So after that. Honorable Ambassador, over to you, and it's such an honor to have you here. We are eagerly awaiting your opening statements and words. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Arvindji. Thank you, Manish. Thank you, Karanji, for such prolific words. Let me begin by complimenting FICCI for taking this initiative of forming the LAC Regional Council to bridge the lack of knowledge about LAC region in India. I think it's a very welcome step because when you talk about the distance, if you start your journey from Delhi, the farthest you reach is Argentina and Chile. And New Delhi and Buenos Aires are something like 15,800 kilometers apart. But Argentina is not an unknown country in India. And while I was in India last year before coming here, whenever I told people that I was going as ambassador to Argentina, I said, "Oh, Argentina," and various people had different comments about Argentina. Somebody said, "Oh, closest to Antarctica." Somebody said salsa, although salsa comes from Cuba and tango comes from Argentina, and a lot of people talk about tango. And then, of course, other remarks were fun-loving people. And then, of course, Maradona, Messi, and football. But of course, when you talk about Argentina, all these are true. Maradona, Messi, football, tango, fun-loving people, close to Antarctica, a great country with a great history of 200 years. I think Argentina is a known country, but not to the extent of, I would say, the two other large countries from the region, which are Brazil, because Brazil is a member of BRICS, far more known to Indians, and of course Mexico because of its proximity to US and with the longer history of trade with India. But just to tell so many members, you are all members of LAC Regional Council, and it's important to know what Argentina is. And I'm going to mention few facts about Argentina, which are perhaps hitherto unknown to most of you. Argentina became independent country in 1816. That's the time when the Britishers were still trying to fight the last Mughal and establish their own kingdom, their own empire in India. Argentina was among the top 25 wealthiest countries by GDP per capita in 1865, when India was still under British rule. It surpassed Denmark, Canada, and the Netherlands to reach 7th place as GDP in terms of GDP per capita by 1908. It was just behind Switzerland, New Zealand, Australia, US, UK, and Belgium. The first Latin American railway network was established in Argentina. Buenos Aires was the 13th city, and of course the first Latin American city to get the subway metro system. And it was soon after the New York subway opened in 1904. Argentina, Buenos Aires opened its subway in 1913. Of course, other cities like Moscow, etc., they came later. It was the first country, Argentina was the first country to have a radio broadcasting in the world, and it began in August of 1920. In 1943, Argentina had the largest editorial industry in the world, in the Spanish-speaking world, and also one of the large cinematographic industry in the world. From past, let's come to the present, what has been happening in the last few years. As you all know that Argentina is a part of G20. It has one of the top, it was one of the top 20 economies. It has fallen down in the last few years because of a series of economic crises. And the one has just passed us, and I will be talking about this a little later. But Argentina's GDP per capita was 14,895 in 2015, and today it is somewhere around $10,000. It is likely to fall down further because of the COVID and several other situations. It is the third largest soybean producer in the world after the US and Brazil. Sixth largest beef exporter in the world. It is leading producer of sunflower, yerba mate, lemons, and soybean oil. Second largest producer of apples as per last year's figures. Third largest producer as well as third largest exporter of honey in the world. It's also the third largest market after Brazil and Mexico. And of course, it's true in terms of population also. Argentina has a population of 45 million only. And of course, it is a very large country. It is the 8th largest country in the world. India is the 7th largest. They are just behind us with 2.8 million square kilometer of area, with a 45 million population and a hugely fertile land. And also the oil and gas reserves, mines and minerals, great potential for renewable energy. It has got everything that a country can ask for. So I always say that people envy Argentina because God has given you everything. And of course, it is one of the large food producer and large-scale agricultural and livestock industries there in Argentina. In terms of innovation industry, there are 5 unicorns which have grown out of Argentina. Between India and Argentina, of course, both are parliamentary democracies. We have excellent relationship. And in the last year, 2019, we upgraded our relationship to strategic partnership. With that, of course, after that, the government changed. We had a new government which took over on 10th of December last year in 2019. And with the new government, I think the relationship is even better, because the kind of interest that is there in the new government to enhance its relationship with India, it's amazing. Just to give you an example, last year in 2019-20, as per our financial year, the India-Argentina touched a new peak of $3.09 billion US, out of which India's exports to Argentina was about 763 million, and their export to India was 2.33 billion. there's a huge trade deficit vis-a-vis Argentina that we have at the moment. Of course, Argentina's trade basket is limited to only soybean oil and some amount of sunflower oil. Last year, of course, we saw another big item taking place in the top five items of export from Argentina, and that was gold. Over $100 million worth of gold was exported from Argentina to India. Argentina is the 42nd largest trading partner with India, whereas for Argentina, India is the seventh largest trading partner. Of course, within LAC region, Mexico, Venezuela, and Brazil are having higher trade with India, whereas there are other countries like Peru, Chile, Colombia, Bolivia, and Ecuador are part of the top 100 trading partners with India. Currently, the economic scenario of Argentina is not very favorable. They have gone through a very serious debt crisis, which has been more or less resolved, I would say. They have just about 10 days, 15 days back, they have managed to renegotiate their debt with the private creditors. And right now, they're in the process of getting into negotiation with IMF to restructure the debt. They have taken a debt of about $57 billion from IMF, out of which I think nearly about $48-49 billion was already disbursed, and they are not in a situation to repay the debt to the IMF as well as to the private creditors, and they are in the process of negotiating their debt structure and the conditions. IMF has predicted about a 9% drop in the GDP this year, which of course is true for the rest of the world also, and India is no exception in that case. This year has been a very special year for the entire world. The inflation rate, because of various issues in Argentina, is very high. It's over 50%. And this year, it's likely to be about 46%, the inflation rate in Argentina. And because of that, there has been a major devaluation of their local currency called peso. But of course, the international trade is in dollars, which does not, the local inflation does not impact the international trade. When we talk about Indian industry, many of you present here in this conference today are having your representation or your investment in Argentina, and I would like to name a few companies beginning with TCS, Mahindra Comviva, Infosys, UPL, Akhes, which is an investment of SR Group, Crisil, Advanta Seeds, which is also part of UPL Group, Bajaj Motorcycles, Seat Tires, Sonalika, TVS, Royal Enfield, Hero Motorcycles, Glenmark, Godrej, and of course, Arvindji's Shri Shri Tattva have a very encouraging presence in Argentina. Argentina has presence of their three main companies. One is TechInt, other is Globant, which is software, and OLX, which is a marketing portal, online portal. I would like to share two very important things here in terms of India-Argentina relationship in the commercial and the economic sector. One is that Embassy took an initiative a few months back to form an India-Argentina Business Council, a bilateral chamber here in Buenos Aires. And I'm very happy to share with, this is the first time I'm making a public pronouncement on this, that we have finally managed to put together about 25 plus Argentine companies, which includes the Indian companies present here. They're all part of this group, and they have yesterday, in fact, they had the first formal meeting of their executive committee, and we are moving ahead with this bilateral chamber, and hopefully we'll have one of their papers in projecting what are the medium and long-term goals of the between India and Argentina very soon, hopefully in the month of October. Secondly, to honor India and Indian investment in Argentina, the president of Argentina himself, President Alberto Fernandez, himself inaugurated a Royal Enfield manufacturing plant here about 2 weeks back in a city very close to Buenos Aires. It's about 90 kilometers from Buenos Aires. And President, of course, acknowledged the presence of Indian companies and the contribution of India to the Argentine economy, which is a very welcome step on part of Argentina, and which I think, as Indian corporate sector, Indian Chamber of Commerce, FICCI, and as Indian ambassador to Argentina, I take pride in his participation and his pronouncements. we are talking about pandemic, and it's very important to see what is happening during the pandemic. And I'm very happy to share with you that in spite of the global supply chains being hit since February, March of this year, the trade between India and Argentina has continued to rise. The first 7 months of this year, the trade has gone up to 1.95 billion, and it's an increase of 11% vis-a-vis the last year, 7 months, first 7 months of the last year in 2019. And if you look at the Indian exports to Argentina, we are now at $463 million, which is just about 1% higher than the last year. And the Argentine exports to India has gone up drastically. It is going up by it's gone up by about 24%. It's gone up by about 14% and gone up to 1.48 billion. With these figures, India has become the 5th largest trading partner of Argentina. And of course, the government of Argentina gives great value to this partnership. And also, when we talk to the industry, the Chamber of Commerce, they all have high regard for India and the economic relationship that they enjoy with India. That COVID has had a delayed impact on Argentina, I would say, because Argentina took a precaution of closing down the entire country, put it under quarantine, as we did from 25th of March. They did it a few days earlier. From 20th of March, Argentina went into a complete lockdown. And as long as the lockdown was complete, absolute, the number of cases did not rise so much. But in the last couple of months, the number of cases are rising drastically because they are now gradually opening the industry, the commercial sector. And as of today, as of yesterday, the number of cases are just about 6.5 lakhs, and with an average daily rise of about 10 to 12,000, sometimes comes down below 10,000, but the rise has been drastic. And government of Argentina has, in the meanwhile, created enough infrastructure to take care of the number of cases. Of course, during the pandemic, we also had several steps taken to strengthen our relationship with Argentina. The Foreign Minister of External Affairs Minister of India, Dr. S. Jaishankar, spoke with his counterpart, Mr. Felipe Sola, in the first week of May. And soon after that, we gave special approvals for export of paracetamol and hydroxychloroquine HCQ to Argentina. And Argentina, on its own part, gave special approval for export of ventilators to India. About 250 ventilators have already been shipped out in the month of July, going to India. And there will be many more ventilators going from here because Argentina has a very strong manufacturing facility. The first few months, Argentina was taking care of its own requirement. And then as soon as the first opportunity arose, Argentina gave approval for exports to India. And in fact, India was the first country to get this approval from Argentina. All of you come from various sectors. The group is very diverse, very interesting. And I'm going to name a few sectors. Then, of course, in the discussion, we can elaborate on those. I think the sectors which are of interest on both sides begin with agriculture, in which we can talk about several products, whether it's, and of course, we are looking at new products and we are telling Indian exporters to gear up for those, including coffee. And of course, we are now fighting with, not fighting, I would say, we are negotiating with Argentina to get us approvals for mango, rice, and several other products, including Ayurvedic products. Shri Tattva is very active here, and we are working with them to get approvals for various supplements, Ayurvedic products, and herbal FMCGs. On its own part, Argentina can, of course, give us some amount of machinery, silo bags, agriculture machinery, but it can also import from India tractors, and there's one company which is trying to import small tractors, and we are assisting them to get the relevant approvals. Then, of course, there's a host of products from bananas to plantains to, of course, insecticides, animal feeds. There are a host of products in agriculture sector which are of interest to both sides. The second important sector, to my mind, is pharma and healthcare, where Argentina had upgraded India to something called Annex 2. They have two annexes where there are certain set of countries in Annex 1 and Annex 2. And Annex 1 has got, those countries have got special privileges to export to India, to Argentina, various medicines and pharmaceuticals, whereas Annex 2 has to go through more rigorous conditions of regulations. And then, of course, the other countries which are not part of Annex 1 or Annex 2 have to go through more severe regulatory conditions. India was upgraded to Annex 2 in 2014, and since then we have seen some amount of trade, which is about 10 to 15 million dollars. Of course, in the last 7 months, because of special medicines coming from India, that trade has gone up in this particular sector. But something not very encouraging, I would say, because India being a giant in pharmaceuticals, we have a huge potential, and Argentina has a huge potential in pharmaceuticals because if I look at the last year figure, they imported over $1 billion of pharmaceuticals from various parts of the world, particularly from Germany, USA, France. And we have the capacity to replace these countries. We have a capacity to compete with these countries in pharmaceuticals. And I can also share with you that we have raised the demand with Argentina to bring up India from Annex 2 to Annex 1, which will be, if it happens, it will be fantastic because our pharmaceutical companies will be able to export without much of regulatory conditions, provided, of course, they have several other approvals in place and sanitary conditions in place. The third sector, which is important, and we have not really focused on that, is energy. We have been talking to Argentina on conventional oil and gas as well as shale oil and gas. And of course, as you all know, that Argentina has the second largest shale gas reserves and the fourth largest oil gas reserve, shale oil reserves. And connected to oil and gas, there are other projects which offer possibilities, and this is one sector which we should look at carefully. The next sector is mining. Argentina is a mining giant, minerals giant, and we are negotiating with Argentina at this point of time an MOU to cooperate in the field of mining and minerals. And I'm happy also to share with you that the government of India company called Kabil, which is the special mandate of dealing with the special minerals, strategic minerals, they have signed two MOUs in Argentina, where both are state companies, to explore lithium, and of course, to not only to explore lithium, but also to establish a value chain, a supply chain for lithium for India's ambitious plan of electric vehicles. Then, of course, we have this plastics and petrochemical products. Argentina's last year import in this sector was over $800 million. And India supplies very little in this sector, and I think we should look at this sector also carefully. Then we have handicrafts, ready-made apparels, where China is the main supplier for Argentina. We have some amount of export to Argentina, but very little. I think there again we have a lot of work to do. Then we have automobiles, especially two-wheelers, tires, auto parts, and also bicycles. Argentina also already has presence of the four major brands of motorcycles from India, and some of the cars also come from, although of course the multinational companies, they were manufactured in India and exported to India, to Argentina, but this market offers much more potential. Then I would like to touch upon engineering goods. There, the basket is huge, and if I have to name some of the products in engineering goods, well, there are actually too many products. I wouldn't like to get into detail of those, but there quite a lot of engineering products which have potential in Argentina, including telephone sets and the mobile telephone. Then you have one important sector where, of course, I can see participation of Exim Bank also in this program today. Project exports to Argentina. We haven't had any project exports to Argentina, and now with the debt issue being over, Argentina will be able to offer sovereign guarantee once again, and we should capitalize on that. Look at the infrastructure projects in energy, solar, transmission lines, railways, oil and gas, and I encourage all Indian companies to look at Argentina as a possibility of project exports. There are two more sectors. One is wines, of course, which Argentina is very keen on, and Argentine wines have their own reputation, fantastic reputation in the world. And I think there's a possibility of trading there. The last sector I want to touch upon is tourism, which at this point of time, it does not make sense to a lot of people. But let us remember that this is not a permanent situation. And as soon as there's a vaccine, there's a cure to the pandemic, we will be and the airlines open up once again. The movement of people will start. People would like to travel once again, explore the world, and tourism both ways. Indian tourism to Argentina and Argentine tourists going to India both offer fantastic opportunities. Um, I think one more sector I would still like to mention, that is toys, which Prime Minister is very keen on, and we are exploring possibilities of getting Indian toys here. Just to give you a snapshot, the Argentine imports of toys from all over the world, primarily from China again, was over $100 billion last year. So that's another sector where we can look at some possibilities. I think I've covered most of the sectors which came to my mind, and I will stop here for the timing and wait for questions to be shot at me. I would be happy to answer subject to my ability and knowledge. Thank you so much once again for patient hearing. Thank you.
No, thank you very much, Honorable Ambassador. I think the vast experience that what you bring across onto the table is something very unmatched. I would say that, an erudite person like you with the experience, across, both these two regions, I'm sure that all the members here would really benefit from that today. So now, Honorable Ambassador, with your permission, I would like to open the floor to all my members to interact with you, and they would have their challenges and as well as some of their concerns that what they would like to share across with you. So I would like to briefly start off with myself. I would request my co-chair Karan to come along with me after, and then later the honorable members. So, Honorable Ambassador, I think the sort of concerns that what I had in my field have already been covered by you. I must also mention to the members that Honorable Ambassador is extremely approachable. So, I would request you to be very open to see that what are all the challenges that what you might have. He would see that to the best of his ability, he would take it forward. Honorable Ambassador, my first concern is that I would sincerely request to see that how we could have response time from ANMAT, to be speeded up. That's something that would have sensitized you earlier, and you have really taken that up, and it has made such a big difference for us. I would request that in case if you could do so again. The second is that I also wanted to make a mention to you over here that tend on bringing across a whole lot of products as well. So my only request is that in case if the import quotas could also be increased with regards to our sectors. Point number 3 is that, Honorable Ambassador, I would like to make a mention to you that we've also started our distribution in Uruguay and Paraguay as well. We've launched in about early last week. We've started off with our personal care. We'll be bringing in our food and FMCG products as well. Another part that what I would wish to also update Honorable Ambassador is that we've also started across some local manufacturing. We've started off with our clarified butter that we call ghee here in India. And we've also started off with our healthy health bars. We've kept them Indian. We call them laddu bars there. So it's something that what people are definitely going to be chewing, and they chew with good health. A whole set of new products that what we would like to bring in across there in Argentina. And we would like to also see that how we could also start locally manufacturing some of these products also in the near future over there. So I wanted to give this particular update. And yes, speed is something that what industry would definitely require to improve there from Argentina when it comes to the regulatory aspects. So we know that we have a great friend in you, Honorable Ambassador, to see that how these could be attended to. These were my points. Thank you very much. Over to you, Karan.
Thank you, Arvind, and thank you, Mr. Ambassador, for sharing your views as well as the broad areas in which there seems to be tremendous amount of opportunity to do business within the region, specifically in Argentina. Certainly, I am from the pharmaceutical industry, and from everything that I heard, it seems that just the pharmaceutical sector has tremendous amount of potential to increase the amount of trade that we're currently doing within the region. And certainly that's great to hear that specifically during this time of the pandemic, there's been an upsurge in pharmaceutical trade, and hopefully that will continue even post this period passes. That trend should continue. Specifically related to Argentina, we have been doing business there for several years now. We have faced a number of challenges, and this was also raised by some other members within the group, specifically in being able to get access to foreign exchange within the country and remit monies back to India. We've seen a huge challenge within Argentina of severe depreciation of the peso, and I think you highlighted that during your speech, and that has caused some great pain to quite a number of countries, specifically the time from the time that the goods left India to the time the money got received back, specifically for companies that have subsidiaries within the region and invoicing in the local currency. Just the cash cycle in itself, looking at the way the currency depreciated, has created some sort of financial distress within some of the Indian companies doing business within the region. If there's anything that we could do to sort of help to smoothen the flows of foreign exchange and get access to foreign exchange within the country, that would be of significant help to continue and expand business within the region. What I've seen personally is there's great acceptance for products from India. We're even competitive in terms of, and our quality is fairly acceptable in all aspects. I think it's about the process of doing business, where I think most of us face challenges. Specifically, my company faces challenges when it comes to just the process in itself. And I think barring that, there are a few other points, but I think this is the big one. If we can help sort this out, I think it helps solve many other challenges that we face. Thank you.
Would you like me to respond, or I can take a series of questions and then respond together?
Sorry, Ambassador, we didn't hear you.
No,
Yes, you can respond, Ambassador.
I respond to these, or should I correct it? Because there might be other questions which may have similar answer.
Sure.
I thought I can note down all the points as everybody's talking and then probably respond at the end of it.
Perfect. We do that way.
I'll do that.
Thank you.
Now may I call Mr. Sagar Kaushik? I think Mr. Sagar Kaushik has just so Miss Anupama Singh of Dr. Reddy's.
Well, I'm there.
Oh
may
yeah,
I?
awesome. Yeah,
Yeah.
please.
So it took little time to show my face and unmute. So good morning, Esther. This is Sagar Kaushik from UPL. I had, at least I remember, one opportunity to meet before we were proceeding to Argentina. Thank you for giving such a broader insight into multiple sectors, and we fully endorse on that. So one question which I want to ask is that how is the current situation with regard to the remittances from Argentina to India or to the other countries, especially some of our own subsidiaries process related challenges and consumes a lot of time to remit the money for the supplies we make to Argentina? That's one question. Second point I wanted to mention, and when we were preparing for meeting today, I did raise is that Argentina also offers great amount of opportunities in the area of innovations. So, are there some possibilities that a platform and Argentina be created, especially focusing on some of the innovation-driven opportunities to discuss and carry forward? Thank you.
Yeah, may I now request Miss Anupama Singh from Dr. Reddy's laboratory?
Very much. Thank you very much. It was great to hear from Honorable Ambassador. Regarding the pharmaceutical industry, it was great to hear about the investments Indian pharma industry is making in Argentina. While but Argentina, one of the things is it has a lot of local manufacturing requirements, and therefore that makes it that much more challenging and takes much more time for regulatory approvals. So, if the environment in the industry can be made in such a way that we have faster regulatory approvals and some relaxation on the local manufacturing aspect, uh, it will be helpful. Otherwise, there is a lot of partnership that is required, which takes up which increases the time. And Argentina as a market definitely is one of the biggest markets, like Brazil, for the Indian pharma industry to make a difference to the patients there. So that's from my side. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure hearing from you and interacting with you.
We also have the privilege of having Marcelo and Rusbe from TCS. So, Marcelo or Rusbe, any one of you would like to highlight TCS?
Thank you, and thank you, Ambassador, for this opportunity. Myself is Marcelo Burman. I'm the CEO for TCS in Latin America. We have been present, just to give a little bit of context, we have been present in the region since 2002 and in Argentina from 2005. So we have already invested a good amount of time in the region, and we by now can say that we know very well the region. Regarding Argentina, we are serving our global, local, and regional clients in the country and from the country. And in terms of challenges, some of them were already mentioned, but I would like to emphasize, I believe the cross-border payment are being a challenge. The inflow and outflow of capitals today is being a challenge for our business. And attached to that, the volatility in terms of currency and inflations happening in the country are creating challenges for business to be in pursuit. Other points are the withholding taxes for Argentina are very high, and that's something I think we need to address either through a double taxation treaty in order to bring them down for a competitive level. And finally, on the social security contribution, when you move associates, employees from India to Argentina, today they're paying the social security contributions, and this is adding up to what we're paying in India. So this is creating a challenge in terms of competitiveness. So those are the major points that I would like to highlight. Rusbe, I don't know if you want to add anything to it.
Thanks, Marcelo. Your Excellency, always an honor to interact with you. I think Marcelo has covered most of the points. There is a kind of a slightly softer aspect that we need to also kind of highlight is, and I think we mentioned that earlier, is about the visa processing and some of the delays that it takes in order to get some of the Indian SMEs to Argentina and also Uruguay and Paraguay. TCS is not therein, but Uruguay and Argentina. So that would be additional point that I would like to make. But Thank you for those encouraging and interesting trade numbers, Ambassador.
Yeah, Ambassador, I think in next meeting everybody is reserving their opportunities part for later and focusing more on issues. But
If we
I think
need,
some
so sorry, Gajendra, I thought this was rather to address the challenges, but
it's okay.
from opportunities, I think there are a lot of opportunities in Argentina itself from a technology standpoint, and we've been iterating this with several people. The kind of banking and financial services itself industry can take advantage of the digital platforms or solutions Indian IT companies can present. We have been talking to Adiba, which is their key kind of banking consortium. And we have seen some moment there, but it's still a long way out there. And similarly, retail, manufacturing, lot of industries can learn from the kind of digital transformations that Indian IT companies are working on for global customers. Marcelo, you want to add? I think there are a lot more points that we can.
Yeah, no, and I think emphasizing what Rosie was mentioning, the pool of talent in terms of technology in the country is really good, and I would say it's one of the best in the region. So there is a huge availability of talent on the technology sector in Argentina. So in terms of opportunities across the industries, but I believe the major challenge attached to it is today the volatility on the country overall. So that's something we need to consider when doing those investments.
Thanks, Marcelo. I was just trying to give a positive spin to the discussion. So now may I call Mr. Anupam Mishra from Popcos? And then if Mr. Mishra is not there, then may I request Mr. Panigrahi from Sipla? I think then Dr. Chandrani from Indophil Industry of other big agrochemical companies in Latin America region.
Rani, you'll have to unmute, please.
Yeah. Good evening, Mr. Ambassador, and thank you very much for this opportunity, and to the FICCI. It's a great pleasure, and very happy to note that on the opening remarks itself, the agriculture was on the top agenda. And though there are less participants from the agriculture sector here, but we from Indophil, like Mr. Sagar Kaushik explained, UPL, Indophil, both are from the agrochemical sector, and it's a more than $2 billion market opportunity for the Indian agrochemical companies. The most of the advantage for this is being taken by our neighboring country because of the one of the biggest fear which is expressed across the participants is the cash cycle, and that is restricting us back in expanding and penetrating in the business. So we restrict to B2B and take very cautious approach rather than looking into the B2C, specifically in Argentina, Paraguay, and Uruguay. Though Brazil, we could dare, but the situations are known to everybody. So we will request the government if this opportunity for the agrochemical segment can be somehow supported to improve the credit lines and cash to cash cycle in a way can be improved. Another challenge is the duty structure, which hold back India. There are a lot of incentives to the agrochemical exports from the neighboring countries. But in India, those incentives are not available. So the neighboring countries take advantage. And over and above, there is a duty structure. So if that also can be through FTA can be addressed, is a great support to the industry. The third one is the political environment, which is probably not in our control. But for the last 7-8 years, we have been evaluating to have a organization there. Then ultimately be restricted back to Brazil. So these are the 3 points basically for your information and request. Thank you very much, sir.
Yeah. Thanks. I think if there is one representative from KEC, Mr. Agarwal is, if he's there and if he's still logged in, if I may request him. I think since most of the issues have already been covered, so now I hand it over to Karan. Karan, maybe now over to you.
Gajendra,
Yeah.
we have, I believe, we have about 10 minutes. Do we want to hear from the ambassador or?
Honorable Ambassador,
Yeah, no,
in case if it is all right, I think there are 1 or 2 more members. I see, just raising their hands. So in case if we could just request you to kindly spend a little bit more time with us, then that would be good. I see Mr. Gaurav Gupta raising his hand up. So in case if you could come in, and I would sincerely request that please keep our inputs short so that we could have more members, and the ambassador still has to respond to the points. Thank you.
Absolutely. Good morning, Ambassador. Thank you to Fiki for organizing this. My name is Gaurav Gupta. I'm from the MD of GCS Solutions. We've been in Latin America now for 12 years with offices in Brazil, Chile. I am in Buenos Aires right now, and we're here actually studying the feasibility of setting up an electric bike manufacturing unit between Uruguay and Argentina. So I would like to hear your input on that. And secondly, next week, if you're free, I would love to come and see you at your convenience. Thank you.
Yeah.
Go. Suresh, I can see Suresh has got his hand up. Go ahead, Mr. Suresh.
Hi. Good evening, everybody. Good Master, Your Highness. We are very happy to, take part in this event, and thanks to Fiki for organizing this. And in fact, I have been part of, very first time I came to Brazil, and I was part of the BRICS Business Council. And there was another event that was organized, but then unfortunately it didn't take place because of the COVID situation. So I'm more, interested in terms of agriculture produce, especially in terms of peripheral fruits. And also, I have one question to, the TCS people. Especially Rusbe. And I see that, you already exist in TCS, and then I wanted to, get in touch with you to find out, how we could come in, because I have my main interest and expertise are in terms of technology. So we wanted to explore a further opportunity because we already started in Brazil, and we wanted to take this, further. So I would like to, get in touch with you as well, and if I could get some input from your end. And also, if Ambassador can help us with agriculture sector, especially the peripheral fruits, it would be a great help. Thank you.
Suresh Kumarji, offline, I will connect with you and share my contact details.
Okay. Thank you.
Should I respond to these, Arunji, Karan?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, I think.
We are short of time, so I can see that there are 5 more minutes left. So I would like to respond as much in detail as possible here. And let me begin by telling Mr. Gaurav Gupta and all others, every participant here and all those people who are looking at this program through YouTube, that we are available to you 24/7. And I have just typed out the email address, my direct email address in the chat, amb.buenos@mea.gov.in. Please feel free to send us a mail if you want to connect with us. And Mr. Gupta, you are welcome to see me. Just send me a mail. My office will connect with you, I mean, local number or whatever, and we will surely meet next week.
Thank you so much, Ambassador.
Always a pleasure to meet any Indian in Argentina. We have a very small community here. So, coming back to the questions, I think broadly, the questions that have been raised are in four sectors. So the first and foremost, of course, is the financial sector of Argentina, which, as I commented in my opening remarks, that Argentina is going through very severe conditions because it had to renegotiate its debt with the private creditors as well as with the IMF. And then there's the internal domestic debt also, which is yet to be sorted out. But at the same time, there are new conditions being imposed by Argentina on imports. In fact, they're trying to increase their exports, bring down the imports, and we have been telling Argentina that, look, this is not going to be possible because we already have a deficit, and we are talking at the highest level in Argentina. I'm myself scheduled to meet the Minister of Productive Development tomorrow, and then next week I'm meeting Foreign Minister again. I'm in touch with the Foreign Ministry all the time. But at the level of ministers, we are trying to tell them, look, you want to have more trade with India, then of course you have to have more relaxed conditions. But at the same time, their argument is that, look, this is not, these conditions are not India specific. If they have imposed 30% extra tax on buying of dollars, and last week President announced another 35% tax, which is refundable on buying of dollars again, then this is not India specific. And we take that point, of course. If it's India specific or region specific, one would be more than happy to take it up as much aggressively as possible. But in this case, these are all global sort of conditions they have imposed on all imports and buying of dollars. At the same time, we are in the process of taking up individual cases. Tomorrow in my meeting, I have 4 or 5 companies, including Mr. Kaushik, UPL's case, and then we have Seat Tires and some others, they have requested me to take up specific matters, and I'm very happy to take up, even if it's 1 rupee of Indian company, we will be happy to take it up with the government of Argentina. So if you have any issue with government, whether it's remittances or import restrictions or quota for imports, please let us know so that we can take it up at appropriate level. And tomorrow in my meeting, there are several issues which are lined up for discussion. But nothing much can be done as far as financial sector is concerned. Banking sector and financial sector of Argentina is in trouble at the moment. And when you are doing business with Argentina, you have to factor in all these conditions. When it comes to Indian companies already present in Argentina, and their imports have to come from India, as I said, we are taking up specific matters with specific ministries, and we'll be happy to continue to take it up, because our logic is that, look, we have such a huge trade deficit, and you have to help us out. You can't impose too many conditions on India, especially with countries where you have you enjoy the trade surplus. You must give them more sort of privileges to work with you. So that's on the financial sector. Please be rest assured, we are already on top of this agenda. And as I said, specific cases, please write to me. I'll be happy to take up those cases. The second issue was pharma. A couple of people raised, Arvindji also raised about Koshi issue about ANMAT. ANMAT is the drug regulatory agency of Argentina. And we are in regular touch with them as well as with the health ministry to get the approvals for our products. But I'm surprised to a large extent that not many Indian pharma companies have applied for approvals for their products. And there are, I can see there are 2 or 3 pharmaceutical companies here. I would suggest that no matter how long it takes, and of course we are here to push it, but do apply. Unless you submit the paper to the government for approval, how will the approval come? Thinking that it might take 1 year or 2 years, you don't apply, but then you're losing as much time. The day you apply, it might take 1 year. So my suggestion is that Indian pharmaceutical industry should wake up to the reality. And then, of course, we are there to help you out, push the things here in Buenos Aires. So pharmaceuticals and also the other products which have to take ANMAT approval, I suggest please apply and give us the heads up so that we can continue to take up these matters with ANMAT and with the health ministry. The third issue is the visa, and visa for Argentina and Uruguay also. You raised TCS, Marcelo raised this issue. No, sorry, Uruguay also raised this issue. But again, on visa front, Latin American countries are a difficult cup of tea. Let's put it this way, all of them. And we had talked to the moment I came, and I realized that we were giving 5-year business visa to Argentinians, but they were not reciprocating, although there's a bilateral agreement. And we took it up, and they have issued instructions to Delhi, to their embassy and their consulate in Bombay to issue long-term business visas, and which are of course gratis visa, free of cost. And the issue has been more or less resolved, but the problem is that since March the visa system is closed, not only in Argentina and Uruguay, but most of the other countries, including India. Although we have started with the business visas, Argentina hasn't started. Irrespective, if you have any requirement of somebody traveling to Argentina, even during COVID times, please let us know. We will arrange special visas for you. But of course, you have to go through the regulatory conditions of 14 days of quarantine, etc. That has to be taken care of. But if you have any pressing requirement of sending somebody to Argentina or to Uruguay, and you need, and of course, you have offered my help in Uruguay also, where families of TCS employees who want to come back to Uruguay to join their spouses, they want to come back and they've asked for our help. And I told TCS that please apply to the government, keep us informed. We can talk to the government and push these matters. These are humanitarian issues. If families have to come back and join each other, they have to be given special permission. And India, as a country, is also doing it. Coming to the last issue, which is I would say a new agenda item, is the innovation industry, where as of now nothing much has been done. But we are in the process of connecting the incubators, the startup incubators in Argentina with some of the incubator institutions in India, particularly in Hyderabad and Bangalore. And we'll be very happy to connect if TCS or any other company wants us to connect you with the incubators here in Argentina. We'll be happy to do that. I have missed out one issue on in the financial sector, that is the remittances. Given the serious foreign exchange situation in Argentina, remittances are under tight control. But again, as I said, you have specific issues, write to us directly. We'll be happy to take it up. And whenever we have taken it up, results have been generally positive. So, I mean, with that, I think I don't need to say more, but please write to us if you have specific issues. Because if I go to a minister and say, generally, please allow remittance to India, then tell me where is the problem. So you have to give me a specific instance, ask for a specific thing, and I'll be very happy to take it up. Other issue connected to remittances, which is the problem many of our Indian technocrats are facing here, because a large community of a few, I won't say large, but few hundred technocrats of India working with various companies, particularly with Cognizant and some other tech companies, that they are not able to send the money back because of restriction of buying of $200 only per month by an individual. And there again, the restrictions are across the board for all the countries. But we are now talking to government of Argentina for concluding a social security agreement, whereby these people who contribute, working here, contribute to the social security of Argentina, they should have the benefit of that when they go back to India. That's a work in progress. And if you have specific suggestions on that, especially those companies which have got several Indians working for them in Argentina, I'll be very happy to hear from them. It seems to me that I've covered most of the issues that were raised, but if there's anything more, I'll be more happy to answer. Thank you.
Ambassador, just one comment or one idea I would like to leave you with. Ecosystem in Argentina. FICCI runs a very large startup innovation center. One is with Lockheed Martin, one is with USAID. And now we have a very, very strong ecosystem of startups, both in science, technology, even social innovation and all. In fact, we have set up a startup incubation center with Rwanda, and now Ethiopian government is asking us to replicate it. So closer home to you, we are almost through with a similar proposal with Mexico. They have a lot of these startups in Guadalajara. So I am not sure whether it is premature, but please do keep in mind, in case there is an opportunity like that with Argentinian government, we would love to get involved with it.
Thank you, Manish. I will take note of it. and we'll connect with you on the startup front. Thank you so much.
Sure. Thanks. Mr. Varchasvi.
Thank you so much, Honorable Ambassador. It's been such a pleasure to, really hear from you. I would request my co-chair, Karanji, to please give the concluding remarks.
Thank you, Arvind. Thank you, Mr. Ambassador. And I'm very sincerely say thank you for all the responses to the questions that the council had. Certainly, these are challenges, and I hope Argentina gets out of its debt situation soon, so that it can help companies here in India who have aspirations to grow within the region to enhance and expand their business and expand the trade that both countries have, both India and Argentina, with each other. On that note, on behalf of FICCI, I would like to express my gratitude to Mr. Dinesh Bhatia, the Indian ambassador to Argentina, Paraguay, and Uruguay, for taking time off to address this gathering. I would like to convey our special thanks to Mr. Arvind Varchasvi, Managing Director of Sri Tattva, and Chair FICCI LAC Regional Council, and all members who represent different sectors of the Indian industry. India has been one of the foremost countries to build trade and strategic relationships with the Latin American region, and its bilateral relationship with Argentina, I believe, goes back almost 70 years, and a variety of different sectors. This platform is proof of the growing aspirations of mutual trade and business amongst both countries. The COVID-19 pandemic has brought us to a critical crossroad of trade and economy, where global markets are reassessing their risks and opportunities. As we look ahead towards the post-pandemic era, the vision is not only grow and expand, but also secure our supply chains in the future. The second round of discussions today, I think we've heard some very key points to improve strategic trade relationships between India and Argentina in specific, and the rest of the Latin American region. From the conversation I heard today, I think while there's been numerous points been raised, I think broadly I break these down into three different areas. That are companies which are exporting to Argentina, who look towards both products and services, who look towards expanding their current presence. We have companies here who've established and looking to expand, and also looking to set up manufacturing or acquire and enhance the number of opportunities that Argentina poses. I think a lot of those were covered by the ambassador, and I thank him for that. Some of the statistics were an eye-opener for me as well, as I had never come across these before. So these are critical and must be addressed, and I hope Argentina gets out of its current crisis. With that, I want to thank the ambassador. It's been a pleasure and honor to have you here today, and I wish you to be safe and keep in good health. Thank you for addressing us. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Ambassador. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Manish ji, and also thank you, Gajendra, and also Manisha, and the entire, backing team here, Gaurav, and Sam. Everybody over here. It's been all of them, and Vedant. All of them have really taken a lot of effort, Honorable Ambassador, to put this wonderful event across to us. Thank you very much.